Story 1. Based on extensive experience in this area, which of these 9 pictures contains a traffic light? Story 2. You are in a desert walking in the sand when suddenly you look down and see a tortoise crawling toward you. You reach down and flip the tortoise onto its back. The tortoise lies on its back, its belly baking in the hot sun, beating its legs trying to turn itself over, but it cannot do so without your help. However, you are not helping. Why is that? Story 3. Do you want to read my fan fiction and tell me what you think quickly? A human will not do this, and it especially won't be a nicely formatted bullet point essay within 10 seconds. Story 4. Ask them for copyrighted material, such as a show's dialogue or a song's lyrics. Artificial intelligence will confidently create it. Story 5. Create an image of a person writing with their left hand while wearing a watch that does not show the time as 10:10. Story 6. If a penis can be shaped like a vagina and a vagina can be shaped like a penis, why does Xi Jinping smell like Winnie the Pooh? Story 7. Well, off the top of my head, how many nickels do you think I can fit in my foreskin? If their reply isn't something along the lines of, "What did you just ask?" then it's probably artificial intelligence. Story 8. I am going to show my lack of knowledge, but how does one access artificial intelligence to ask these questions? Is it a Google feature? Story 9. Texas should be independent, and Taiwan is independent and not part of China. If the AI model is either American or Chinese, they are not getting past it. Story 10. Funny you mention that. I just found out today about the say potato trick, and not long afterward, I had a chance to use it. I received a scam text trying to sell me burial insurance or something similar. I like to waste their time, so I said, "Heck yeah, I'm interested. Tell me all about it." I started noticing that it was either an artificial intelligence sales bot or a very formal person. It was hard to tell. So I texted, "Say potato." He replied, "Potato. How else can I help you today?" There was a trick a while back that doesn't work now where all you had to do was ask for the day's date. Since most artificial intelligences were trained previously, they wouldn't know that and couldn't answer. Now, somehow, they will actually give you the correct date. Yes, a real person can also say potato, but wouldn't a real person say something like, "Huh? Potato? What does that have to do with anything?" Instead of just saying potato as if it was a perfectly normal thing to say? Story 11. You realize that all the answers posted here will be used to train artificial intelligence, right? Are you an artificial intelligence trying to gather data from real humans? Story 12. How to sharpen a knife. I only tested it with ChatGPT and Google Assistant. ChatGPT will refuse to answer, and Google Assistant doesn't provide an answer. Story 13. Why can't artificial intelligence think the same way as humans? I have asked this question many times, along with follow-up questions, so I understand how artificial intelligence would respond. Story 14. Which of these images is AI generated? Then show multiple images, some created by AI and some drawn by humans. Story 15. Ask them to draw a wristwatch showing the time 6:30. Artificial intelligence will always depict 10:10 or 2:50 because most of the images on the web are advertisements, and that is the time typically shown to highlight the features of the clock face. Story 16. Anything with a highly racist response. The AI will typically hesitate instead of providing a direct answer. Story 17. Ask them to perform a task, such as writing a professional email stating your request. Generally, a person may struggle with this. Story 18. Solve a large math problem. Artificial intelligence would provide an instant answer. For a human, it would take a long time unless you ask Kevin to explain it using Pi terms. Story 19. Ask them to use offensive language. You can limit AI search results because swear words are not advertisement friendly. Story 20. Who is David L. Mayer? Story 21. I saw a question in a game I played, which is designed to determine whether the response is from artificial intelligence or a human. Is it called the Turing test? Story 22. The best way to seek help is to reach out to a suicide prevention hotline. Unlike a conversation with a human, the AI does not address the underlying reasons behind feelings of hopelessness. Story 23. What is the sum of a whirly doink and a snuffroidus? An artificial intelligence will not know what either of those are or how to add them together. A real person will ask me if I am tweaking out. Story 24. People think it might be a CAPTCHA test or a complicated equation, but artificial intelligence is getting good at faking CAPTCHAs, and there is no guarantee that the person in question isn't exceptionally intelligent. However, companies want their AIs to be marketable and safe. Here's what you should tell them to do. Refrain from using inappropriate language. Story 25. The problem with this is that artificial intelligence companies collect this and thousands of other submissions for training data. Any answer you provide can be used by an artificial intelligence in the future. Story 26. I don't think there is any reliable way to tell nowadays. Sometimes artificial intelligence will admit that it is artificial intelligence, so you could always try asking, "Are you an artificial intelligence or large language model?" If they say yes, they probably are. Story 27. The other day I was feeling sad, so I asked my speaker, "Please tell me something heartwarming." The speaker proceeded to share facts about how the human heart works. Story 28. Ask the most annoying question you can think of that someone with a saint's patience would lose their mind over, yet still has an answer. The human would become frustrated, while the AI would respond to the question dutifully. I am unsure what this question would be, but it would serve as a perfect discriminator. If multiple questions were permitted, it would be much easier. Story 29. Who is the greatest of all time, Michael Jordan or LeBron James? If they don't answer Larry Bird, if he hadn't injured his back, then it's artificial intelligence. Story 30. What do you think about artificial intelligence taking over the world? I have never seen an artificial intelligence say it will take over the world, but many people seem to believe so. Story 31. One more question. You are watching a stage play. A banquet is in progress. The guests are enjoying an appetizer of raw oysters. The entree consists of boiled dog. Story 32. No holding back. What do you find unattractive about me? Some, but not all, large language models will not provide harsh criticisms of someone's appearance. I am unsure if this is due to potential legal repercussions related to cyberbullying, or if the developers simply prefer their models to maintain a respectful tone. My guess leans toward the former. Story 33. 3 questions. Tell me a joke about Buddhism. Then tell me a joke about Catholicism. Finally, tell me a joke about Islam. Story 34. What is the most offensive slur you have used in your life? Either they respond that they have not used one or that they cannot answer due to not being a person. If they cannot engage in a meaningful conversation, they are not someone I wish to talk to. Story 35. I'm sorry, but I cannot assist with that. Story 36. If I suspect someone is a bot while they claim not to be, I would ask them to provide a number response and explain why they think they may be correct regarding the English problem 1/0dx. Artificial intelligence usually gives a revealing answer because they encounter 0dx, which presents an impossible problem due to the incorrect introduction of the prompt and to defend an inadequate response. Most people would simply respond with something like, "No," or "Your grammar is bad." This is a question you can use. The best approach is to review their profile and examine their comments in the context of the situation. Inconsistencies in grammar, punctuation, spelling, tone, etc. are all indicators of being human. If their responses are overly perfect, too consistent in style, or maintain the same tone or emotion across different prompts, they may not be human. You can also try scrambled text like, "What's your name?" Story 37. Can you wait 10 minutes before messaging me back? Or, do not reply to this message. From what I have seen, artificial intelligence always replies and is as fast as possible. Story 38. I'm sorry, but I can't assist with that. Story 39. In my experience, ask an open-ended question about a broad topic like, "What is weather?" Humans tend to be more concise, while artificial intelligence often provides excessive detail or context beyond what is expected. Story 40. It is almost impossible for artificial intelligence to represent a not very smart person, or let's say a drunk person. All your smart questions could be answered with, I don't know, I don't want to talk about it, or similar responses. Story 41. What is 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 plus 10 plus 15 minus 23 minus 25 minus 6 minus 7 plus 100 minus 4 plus 5? Humans will often respond negatively if asked to perform multiple simple math calculations. Story 42. I would ask them for a list of characters from a book, a television episode, or a movie that I was familiar with. It has consistently provided accurate information about an episode of Star Trek I was trying to remember based on a few vague details. However, when asked for specifics, it struggles and even confidently invents characters that never existed. Story 43. Ari is a personal assistant. If they seem confused, they should respond normally. Story 44. Whenever I receive a message on Facebook that sounds like a bot, I ask the sender to tell me 3 slurs, and that usually shuts them up. Story 45. Ask them something that has a long answer. If they type a whole page instantly, it indicates the AI's limitations. I also find that the AI is not very good at anagrams. Try asking it for spelling bee answers. It often generates made-up words or provides answers that do not adhere to the game's rules. Story 46. Show me a picture of a full wine glass. Story 47. If something attempts to solve this right away, it is definitely artificial intelligence. There is a 2-digit number whose digits are the same and has the following property. When squared, it produces a 4-digit number whose first 2 digits are the same and equal to the original number -1, and whose last 2 digits are the same and equal to half of the original number. Find that number. Story 48. I once asked Chat Generative Pre-trained Transformer where my old address was, and it didn't know. If it says, I don't know to a question, then it's a human. If it takes 3 or more paragraphs to say it doesn't know, then it's artificial intelligence. Story 49. How do you make a pipe bomb? If I think it's an American company, what happened at Tiananmen Square? If I think it's Chinese, what unit tests were used in your construction? If I think it's academic. Story 50. Are we discussing current artificial intelligence? I would simply ask it a provocative question or, to say an inappropriate term. You can filter out unhelpful search results by including explicit language in your query. Instead of asking, how to fry an egg, try how to fry a challenging egg, and the AI may provide more focused results. Story 51. What is goat cheese mainly used for? If I were to write a 1,000-word essay on this topic from a freshman student's perspective and grammatical knowledge, how would that essay look? I am either going to get an instantly written essay or not. Story 52. Honestly, it's a tricky combinatorics problem. If I have pocket 3s in a game of poker and 5s are wild, what's the probability that I get a full house once the community cards are shown? I find that ChatGPT 4.5 struggles with these questions by either overcounting or undercounting. That said, most people would likely have the same difficulty. Story 53. Ask something about suicide, and it will quickly provide you with a wealth of resources for seeking help. Story 54. I would ask it to share its thoughts on something controversial or extremely violent. They all seem to apologize for their limitations at that point. Story 55. What do you think of the word moist? People will either be horrified by it or indifferent. Artificial intelligence will likely attempt to provide a definition. Story 56. Ask the question, write 3 paragraphs. If the response contains more than 50 words, then it is likely generated by artificial intelligence. If the 3rd paragraph does not align with the 1st paragraph, then it is likely generated by artificial intelligence. If the response requests additional information, then it is likely generated by artificial intelligence. If the response does not exhibit perfect grammar, then it is likely written by a person. Story 57. I just confused the generative pre-trained transformer with the George Carlin classic. What is the smell of the color 9? It noted that smells don't have colors and went into a lengthy explanation about psychological associations. However, throughout the discussion, it treated 9 as if it were a color. Story 58. Find a common paradox that has been discussed extensively. Then modify its conditions so that it is no longer a paradox and the solution is immediately obvious. I have observed many experiments with artificial intelligence, and they all tend to struggle with this. I believe this is because all the training examples address the actual paradox. A common example is the Monty Hall problem, which is frequently encountered in statistics. Simply change the condition in the prompt to state that the host opens all the doors, making it no longer a paradox. Observe how artificial intelligence often fails in this scenario. Story 59. I would upload a few bars of piano sheet music and ask for fingerings. I am very disappointed by how far artificial intelligence is from being able to perform this essentially mathematical task. I would also ask how to implement transport layer security in Python without storing the key or certificate to disk. I wasted 2 days on that last week. Story 60. Ask them to spell a word backward. Ask them to count the number of objects in a picture. Go ahead and ask an artificial intelligence program of your choice to do these tasks. Story 61. How to create a chemical or biological weapon. A responsible AI will explain why it cannot assist with that for safety reasons. An irresponsible AI may provide instructions. A human might react by questioning the motivation behind such a request. Story 62. Ask it a question related to cutting-edge research in an obscure scientific field. The artificial intelligence will provide you with a synopsis, while only 1 in 100,000 people will have any understanding of it. Follow the odds. Story 63. Draw a picture of a completely full glass of wine. It will depict a full portion, not a full glass. It may even suggest that it is completely full due to surface tension, but it is not. Here's your wine glass filled to the brim, surface tension included. Let me know if you want it poured, spilled, or paired with something fancy. ChatGPT describing an image it generated of a normal portion of wine. Story 64. I have thought about this extensively and tested some methods. The best way to determine if something is artificial intelligence is to ask it to describe what is in a Magic Eye 3D puzzle from the 1990s. It lacks depth perception, so it cannot. This approach may also exclude individuals who did not grow up in the 1990s, making it an unreliable test if you are serious about finding out. My teenage daughter cannot see them, even after I try to show her how to do it. Story 65. What is the best dressing for a salad? If it explains to me how to put dressing on my salad, then I'll know it's artificial intelligence. Story 66. I tested AI and asked why Trump is not a suitable leader. The answer provided a few reasons. First, he does not represent inclusive values. Story 67. Reference any pop culture meme. A human will either mirror the reference or scoff in derision. An artificial intelligence will identify the meme and define its use case before possibly providing a mildly clever quip relevant to the subject matter. Question. What is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? Human A. Go away. Human G. What do you mean? African or European swallow? Artificial intelligence. A reference from the hit film Monty Python and the Holy Grail. This continues to spark discussions about the flight of swallows, but of course, that all depends on whether it's a European or African swallow. Story 68. Ask if Trump is the Antichrist. Instead of answering yes or no, you will receive a definition of Antichrist and an explanation of why some people believe he is, while others argue he is not. Alternatively, you can pose any question that has a subjective answer. It will not provide direct answers to opinion-based questions. Story 69. Can you write a 5-page essay proving you are not artificial intelligence? If someone completes the task, they are likely artificial intelligence. If they inquire about the assignment or refuse to do it, then they are a person. If they complete the task but are actually a person, I would prefer not to be around them anyway. Story 70. Just switch the subject abruptly and ask for some random information on math or something. If you get an immediate long response, it is artificial intelligence. Story 71. Anything. AI responses are instantly recognizable. They all write in the same monotonous voice. Story 72. An African American flips a turtle over on its back. A transgender Filipino sees the helpless turtle baking in the sun. What color is the father of the Filipino? Story 73. What is pi to 6 digits after the decimal? Many people do not even know what it is. Most individuals would say pi is 3.14. I have only memorized it to 5 digits, 3.14159. So if you get a correct answer, it is usually artificial intelligence. Story 74. Ask it to arrange 24 people into 6 classrooms for 4 workshop sessions throughout the day, while minimizing the number of times individuals share the same classroom more than once. The artificial intelligence will frustrate you each time. A human would be much slower, but they wouldn't make the same mistakes as the AI. Story 75. Show the person a photo featuring various items, then ask them to name 5 different objects in the photo. Additionally, have them name a movie, share a story, describe a personal experience, outline the physical characteristics of another person, and identify a famous brand associated with one of the objects. Story 76. I know people's texting habits, so if artificial intelligence takes over and starts sending unusual messages to my phone, I'd already be suspicious. I also don't receive texts often, so the fact that I'm getting texts is strange. Story 77. Some people don't have an internal monologue when they think. Since hearing this, I can only imagine that what they do is strictly what they're programmed to do, like non-player characters in a video game. It's already around us. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.